Welcome back to the Hand Toolery. Today, if you look in the lower left of the picture, you can see the turn leg I'll be making. It's squared at the top, and it's just a turned leg at the bottom. What you just saw is not the actual finished product. It was one of my test legs. I decided to go a little bit wider at the top and then have it taper down to a smaller diameter at the bottom. Just like everything else, you've got to start by squaring up and dimensioning your stock. And then I basically lay it out with the correct measurements where the actual turning will start, where the squaring will stop, etc. I'll show you later in the video that what I eventually did is I made a story stick or a template for this, and that way I could just place it on the lathe once it's squared up and just mark all my transition points. Here what I'm doing is I'm boring a hole in this piece, and I've clamped it at the top so it doesn't split it out. But I'm going to bore a hole and then cut through the hole in the middle right here, and that will give me a half circle. And then what I can use that for is like a caliper, and that gives me a 1-inch diameter circle or half circle to be able to rest on top of the piece and then find out if I've hit my dimension. Since it's a lathe project, I'm going to mark the center, and I'm going to come back with this paddle drill bit here and just sort of make a deep impression. And once I do that on both sides, I can go ahead and oil it up and put it on the lathe. But I'm a little bit out of sorts here because I actually put the oil on and I realized I should actually ease the corners, and so I just take my scrub plane and knock off the major portions to get it more or less in an octagonal shape. Now my lathe is based on the Roy Underhill style of the portable spring pull lathe. It's not exactly the same, but I have this movable poppet that what I do is I have to loosen the wedge and then adjust it, cinch everything down, and then tighten up the wedge. And that'll turn quite freely, especially when you oil the piece. From there I just cinch it down and make sure it's nice and secure, and I use the hand crank at the end. It's attached rather than to an actual pole that's springing. It's a bicycle tire, and I also have this carabiner on the end that a subscriber suggested I do, and it's been great. I don't know if you can tell here, but I actually have 60 grit sandpaper on the treadle, so that really helps to be able to stay and to grip it quite well. There, you can see the sandpaper quite well there. I've left the piece quite long, and I left myself basically 2 inches to make a mandrel in the end, and so I'm basically using the skew to separate the fibers, to cut the fibers and sever them. That way I can actually form the mandrel in the end. And then what I'll do is once I form it, I'll move the string over. And so that's all I'm doing right now. Now that the mandrel is formed, I can just slide the string over, and it's just going to stay there the whole time. Here I'm breaking the corners with the chisel so that way they don't chip out and destroy the actual piece I want to keep up top. I've found that on pine, like from the home center, that's kiln dried as fast as it could possibly be dried, it's good to take any extra precautions that you can. So that's what I've done. I've tried to choose stock that's as clear as possible, and that's, I've tried to, like I said, ease the corners. And that's what I'm doing now is I'm scoring the actual line across there, that knife line, to give me every chance of success. And from here, it's just, go at it. If I'm being totally honest, I really wrestled as to whether I should just keep this clip or edit it, but I decided to sort of just leave it as it is, more or less uncut for an extended shot, so that way you can see that it really didn't go perfectly. This is the very first one. The rope keeps slipping, which is not a big deal. I still got it turned, but yeah, it's not all perfect, as you can always see. And this being my very first one, I actually made 4 more after this one, so things got better. I got into a rhythm. As you can see here, the slipping is less. I'm using a lot more power on the downstroke, which I think serves to sort of tighten the cord as it's pulling it, and that might result in less slipping. But in any case, it is what it is. And in case you're interested in knowing, I'm starting with a really rough gouge here, and it's just to remove a bulk of the material here. As you can see, it's starting to take shape. And only once I get really, really close to where I actually want to be, then I will go in and use the skew to clean everything up. You can see I've removed quite a bit of material, and now I'm going to test to see how close I am to the final dimension. And I'm getting close. I want that to start to go on, but not actually go on. The reason for that is you want to leave room for final sanding. So you want to get it almost there, and then you want the final sanding to take it down to the final dimension. Now, some of you might notice I'm really not removing my chisel away from the work as it spins backwards, and I've heard that dulls the tool, but you know, it is what it is. I'm not perfect, again. I'm still learning, but hey, I'm very satisfied with the work and the progress I've been doing, and hopefully I will develop that skill soon enough. And now you get to see just how sad my skills are with the skew chisel. I mean, in all honesty, I can use it, and I can't use it great. I can't get a perfect surface, but hopefully I'll learn along the way. Again, I'm going to use the skew chisel here to start to clean up everything and bring it into uniformity, try and create a nice smooth surface, and again, uniform surface. On the pieces I do later, it starts at like 1.25 inches at the top and tapers down to an inch, and so I want to make sure that the taper is nice and continuous and smooth. On this one, it's 1 inch the whole length, which I didn't like, and so like I said, I went and changed the design after this one. But even so, that's the purpose of this. And now comes the part that makes it all look good. I have no qualms about this. I had to sand the daylights out of this. As you can see, all my tool marks are still on the piece. It's just not that consistent, and that's okay. A lot of it is just my inexperience, and I'm sure this will get improved over time. I think that's the theme of today's video. But what I'm doing is I'm using a long sanding block to make sure I can keep it nice and consistent. And then once I've got it more or less uniform and consistent, I'm going to take these individual sheets and go all along it, up and down. And then what I do is I go with the grain, slowly turning it little by little. It's a good idea to release the tension off the spring before you undo the piece, otherwise it'll just yank it off the lathe. And don't ask me how I know that. Here's the final piece that you just saw me turn, and as you can see, it looks way too narrow, but even so, it's a great proof of concept. I'm going to cut off the mandrel, commit to it, and it'll leave a little bit of a foot pad at the bottom, which is what I actually want. And eventually, you will see all four of the pieces, the final pieces, and they look much nicer because they start a little wider and then narrow down to this at the bottom. You know, that's just how it is. You find stuff out as you go along. DeResta says you always go to school in the first one, and that's what I did here. And another thing after this first one that I implemented is this story stick. It really, really turned out to be quite handy, and I'd recommend you do that. Find some sort of a template that you can make, and don't go in depending on consistency of measuring. Just make one template and use it for everything.